The Painted Veil is a 2006 romantic drama directed by John Curran, adapted from W. Somerset Maugham's 1925 novel of the same name, starring Edward Norton and Naomi Watts. The film presents a quiet but emotionally intense exploration of love, betrayal, personal growth, and redemption set against the backdrop of a cholera epidemic in 1920s China. At its core, The Painted Veil is not simply a love story, but a study of emotional distance and moral awakening. The film begins with a marriage that is more social arrangement than emotional bond. Kitty Garston, played by Naomi Watts, is a young English woman who enters into a marriage with Walter Fane, a reserved and intellectually driven bacteriologist portrayed by Edward Norton. Their union is rushed, shallow, and built on mismatched expectations. Kitty seeks escape from her constrained upper-class life in London, while Walter desires companionship but not necessarily emotional intimacy. The story quickly establishes a sense of emotional alienation between the two. Kitty is bored and unfulfilled in her marriage, and she begins an affair with a charming but self-centered man, Charlie Townsend. When Walter discovers her infidelity, he responds not with immediate confrontation or rage, but with a calculated decision. He accepts a position in a remote Chinese village, suffering from a deadly cholera outbreak, and he insists that Kitty accompany him. This decision sets the stage for the central transformation of the film. What begins as a punishment disguised as duty becomes a journey of exposure, suffering, and gradual emotional reconciliation. The film is set in the 1920s, a period marked by colonial presence in China and limited medical understanding of infectious diseases like cholera. The remote village to which Walter and Kitty travel is isolated, impoverished, and overwhelmed by illness. This environment contrasts sharply with the privileged, detached world of British society from which they come. The cholera epidemic is not merely a backdrop. It functions as a narrative catalyst. The disease forces both characters into situations where emotional pretense becomes impossible. Life and death decisions must be made quickly, and social facades collapse under the pressure of survival. Walter, as a scientist, becomes deeply involved in efforts to control the outbreak, working with limited resources and significant personal risk. Kitty, initially resistant and resentful, is compelled to confront both the suffering around her and the consequences of her own choices. Walter Fane is introduced as intelligent, introverted, and emotionally restrained. His passion lies in microbiology and public health rather than social interaction. This detachment, while admirable in his professional life, translates into emotional distance in his marriage. His response to Kitty's betrayal is not explosive, but controlled, reflecting his preference for rational decision-making over emotional expression. Kitty Garston begins as a character, shaped by social expectation and emotional immaturity. She's portrayed as seeking validation and excitement, often without fully understanding the consequences of her actions. Her affair with Charlie Townsend is less about deep love and more about escape and attention. Charlie Townsend, though less central, represents superficial charm and moral irresponsibility. He contrasts sharply with Walter, highlighting the difference between fleeting pleasure and enduring commitment. One of the central themes of The Painted Veil is transformation through suffering. Both physical illness and emotional pain function as forces that strip away illusion. The cholera epidemic symbolizes uncontrollable natural forces that expose human vulnerability and force introspection. Another key theme is the evolution of love. The film challenges the idea of romantic love as immediate passion, instead presenting it as something that may emerge slowly through shared hardship, understanding, and sacrifice. Walter and Kitty's relationship evolves from indifference and resentment into something more complex and grounded. Isolation is also a major motif. The physical isolation of the Chinese village mirrors the emotional isolation between the characters. Kitty, in particular, experiences both cultural and emotional alienation, which gradually leads her towards self-awareness. The painted veil itself is a metaphor drawn from Mom's poem referencing Percy Bysshe Shelley. It symbolizes the illusions humans construct to avoid confronting deeper truths about life, death, and meaning. As the story progresses, these illusions are stripped away, revealing a more painful but authentic reality. As Walter and Kitty remain in the village, their relationship slowly shifts. Kitty begins volunteering at a local orphanage, which becomes a turning point in her character arc. Through caregiving, she develops empathy and a sense of purpose beyond herself. Walter, meanwhile, becomes more emotionally accessible, though still restrained. Their emotional reconciliation is not simple or guaranteed. Instead, it is marked by hesitation, misunderstanding, and moments of quiet connection. Walter's dedication to combating the epidemic often places him in danger, while Kitty's growing independence reflects her internal transformation. The film does not rely on dramatic confrontations or exaggerated emotional outbursts. Instead, it builds intimacy through silence, shared work, and gradual understanding. This understated approach is central to its tone and emotional impact. Visually, the film is known for its lush cinematography, contrasting the natural beauty of rural China with the harsh realities of disease and poverty. The use of landscape is significant. Wide, serene shots often contrast with the emotional tension between characters. The pacing is deliberate and reflective, emphasizing internal change over external action. Alexandre Desplat's musical score enhances the emotional tone without overwhelming the narrative, reinforcing the film's restrained style. The Painted Veil ultimately introduces itself as a story about the dismantling of illusions, romantic, social, and personal. Through the journey of Walter and Kitty Fane, the film explores how suffering can force individuals to confront truths they have long avoided. It is not a conventional romance, but a meditation on the complexity of human relationships and the possibility of redemption through understanding and sacrifice. Rather than offering easy resolutions, the film suggests that love, if it emerges at all, is something earned through experience, hardship, and change.